I'm coming out, so you better get the party started. Party started, party started. I'm coming out, so you better. Anyway, what the fuck is that all about? Anyway, yeah, Friday. I noticed I managed to fix the video. Sorry, I'm getting a bit too close to this microphone. I'll just move it back ever so slightly. Yeah, I did start the intro and I noticed it wasn't playing again. No idea what's going on. I'm using a thing called, what was it called? Somebody recommended I try it. It might actually be Mr. Jones. It's what the hell is it called? Lion or something? I can't remember. It's a browser. So yeah, that seems to work all right. At least it's working again. Yeah, it's a live Friday Waffle. This is always my favourite day of the week. I think it's going to be everybody's favourite day of the week for obvious reasons, no work and what have you. So, yeah, let's have a quick look, see who we've got in tonight. We've got Mark, whatever, Custard, Horror, Craig Flanagan, Del Boy, Steve's 8-Bit Gaming, LFC Gamer Vlogs, Colin Jones, and yeah, that's everyone. So, yeah, how the hell are you? Haven't you grown since I last saw you? Excuse me. So, what have you been doing? What have you? What I'm meant to say is, what have I been doing? What have I been doing this week? What have I been doing? What the hell have I been doing? I can't even remember. I'll tell you what I have been doing, and I'm only halfway through it. You know, sometimes you just get a film in your head and you think, I want to watch that film. Well, I had that yesterday, and I've absolutely no idea why or what kind of prompted me to do it. And it was, I thought, I fancy watching Zulu. So I have. Started it last night, watched it for about an hour. I think it's about 2 hours and 10 minutes. Watched it for an hour. And then I watched it for about an hour tonight as well. Brilliant film. The only thing is, can anybody tell me why I use a thing called Plex, which is it's a piece of software which allows you to what do you call it? It allows you to stream all your films on your that's on your computer onto your telly, or it allows you to do it on anything like a Fire Stick, Xbox, whatever. So yeah, I mean, about maybe 10 years ago, there was a rather funky website appeared, and it was offering films. You could download films, and they were all like 1080p or 720p, whatever it is, and they were all quite short. They were all about kind of 700 meg, so they had literally every film you could imagine. So I just went down through the list, and I think I must have downloaded about, I don't know how many films. In fact, I'll tell you exactly. Let me have a wee look. Let me have a quick look. Hang on to your hats, folks. Talk amongst yourselves, whatever. Right, let's have a wee look. Films and stuff. Let's see how many. Yeah, I downloaded 1,299 films, taking up 1.8 terabytes space. And I downloaded all these over a matter of weeks. So it basically means that I have. Where the hell is the browser going? Are you still there? I think you're still there. There you are. Yeah, I downloaded all these films, so it basically means that I have got every film that I'm ever likely to want to see, apart from new stuff, obviously. And I use that. It's like it kind of turns your illegal film collection into a kind of Netflix thing. You can do searches, you can look like through genres and all that kind of bollocks. So yeah, really, really good. So yeah, that's what I've been using. I think it does cost. I think it's maybe about, I don't know, 60 quid a year or something. But you know what? It's great. I don't mind paying that at all. So right, I'm having a quick look at last week's 29th. I'm having a quick look to see if there's any questions. Right, wee Bob's got a question. I think the Colin. Yep, Colin's asked a question, which is great. Milfy, as always, has got a question. No, there's nothing there. Right, so there's only a couple of questions. What I was, what to do is stick. If there's anything you want to hear my thoughts on or anything, stick your comment down below. Please keep the comments coming, guys. I mean, you know, there's maybe 2 or 3 that regularly give me questions. I need questions, absolutely. If you want to see this thing continue, it's been going for since 2013. You need to keep them coming. Keep the questions going. It doesn't even have to be a question. That's the thing. It can just be a topic. You know, it can be like a single word, like I don't know. I use this one all the time. Piracy. What's my thoughts on piracy? Anything at all. Anything you want to ask me. Preferably retro gaming. I was actually talking to Dale Boy. Was it last week? I think it was. Dale will probably correct me if I'm wrong. And I was saying to him that I'm kind of conscious that in the last, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years, my content has kind of, especially the Friday Waffles, have kind of drifted off from kind of being about games. And that's fine because it's called the Friday Waffle. I just talk pish for about an hour. Well, I usually say I'm going to be on for 20 minutes and then an hour later. That is a kiss. Yeah, my tongue is blue because I've been eating blue bonbons. Well spotted, Colin. I didn't even realise that. Bloody hell. Yeah, I've been eating blue bonbons. They're actually quite nice. What was I talking about? See, I've completely forgot my train of thought. What was I talking about? I've no idea. Forgotten. Can't remember. Yeah, we're talking about Del Boy. That's it. We're talking about Del Boy. And I was saying to him that I kind of I want to try and get back to sort of talking about video games again. Now I know that's maybe a daft thing to say because when you've been when you've what do you call it when you've been making waffles for as long as I have. Now, if you're new to the channel and you've just tuned in and you're hearing me talking about making waffles, I don't mean the savoury or sweet type. I'm talking about me talking bollocks. Yeah, I mean, I've said this before. I've said everything. It's like Forrest Gump when he's running. He just gets to a point and says, "Right, I don't want to run anymore." I've got to a point where I kind of feel like I've talked about everything gaming related, and I mean, I'm conscious that I do repeat myself. I repeat myself an awful lot, but that's an age thing. Plus the fact that I've said everything I want to say, but I do want. Pardon me very much. I do want to get back to kind of gaming. So, anyway, listen, a huge thank you to everyone that's joined me tonight. I mean, it's Friday night. You should be spending time with your girlfriends, boyfriends, partners, mums, dads, friends, whatever, instead of watching me talking shite. So, anyway, yeah, first question is from Colin. Why is my tongue blue? It's blue because I've been eating sweeties. Right, Custard Horror is asking, can we have a two-player game stream with Del Boy? I want to see you facing off in Spy v Spy. You know what? I think I've looked at this before. How feasible is it? Now I know it is possible, but I don't know how workable, if it's any good or not. Can you play could you play Custard saying there Spy v Spy? How easy, difficult, possible is it to actually have two people playing the game? Could Dell theoretically play Wizzball? Not Wizzball, I'm looking at Ben's comment. Could he, in theory, play Spy v Spy against me at the same time? I know I did. What the hell was it? It was MAME. There's a version of MAME, or I can't remember if it's a version or if it's a piece of software. You have to. It allows you to play like arcade games against somebody else online. But the problem was, I mean, I'm talking, Christ, you're probably talking about 2007. It was a long time ago. It was really lag. It was like lag central. We were trying to play. I was actually playing against a guy called, some of you guys may know him, a guy called Sick Boy, who's just he's as good as Charlie Farr when it comes to video games. But we're trying to play track and field. Now the problem with track and field is it's a it needs to be mega responsive, and having any kind of lag just kills it. And that's why track and field on the Xbox 360 didn't work. I used to play it a lot when it first came out, but when you played against somebody else online, it would stutter and stop and what have you. So really didn't work. But yeah, if in fact there's if Dell's listening, that's a challenge for you, young sir. Can you look into how feasible would it be to play online games and record them? Well, I'm guessing if you can play them, then we can certainly record them. So yeah, Dell has very kindly offered to to look into that. What's he saying? If the two-player does not happen, I will make sure it happens when I get to Blackpool in October. How's that? He will get destroyed anyway. So, yeah, whatever. You keep saying you're good at bloody Ghosts and Goblins, but I've yet to see any proof. Going by your gameplay videos, you're a bit pish, but anyway. So, right. Highlander's asking, has anyone watched the new Predator film yet? Prey? No, I wasn't even aware of that. Any good? Is it any good? I mean, I do like a good Predator film, I have to say. Ben's asking, hi Al, I've been meaning to tell you in Wizzball, if you stay below the horizon with the main ball, you don't get shot. Really? That would certainly make things a bit easier. Thank you, Ben. I wish somebody had told me that before. LFC Gamer and Vlogs question: what is the best flavour ice cream? Depends what kind of mood I'm in. I mean, I love like sort of caramel. I'm not a big fan of like chocolate. I mean, I do like chocolate, but I'm not a fan of like if I was to buy like a milkshake, it's kind of too chocolatey. If that's a thing. Same with like I don't know. Yeah, if I was to buy like a what do you call it, like a sundae with like ice cream, I don't usually go for things with chocolate, but I love things like caramel. But as far as if I was to get an ice cream, if it was one of these Mr. Whippy ones, the really kind of creamy ones, it would just be a vanilla one. And the if I was getting like old school, like any scoopy ice cream, it would probably be strawberry. I think, yeah. Like I said, not a big fan of chocolate, so it would be strawberry for normal ice cream. But if it's a Mr. Whippy, it would just be plain ones. Alan M's asking, hey Alan, I had one of those yellow Space Invader games on your shelf before I got into computers. I got it at Wilco and Cumbernauld. Remember them, Alan? I used to work in the bloody place. I worked in Wilco in Livingston. Now, I didn't actually realise that they had one in Cumbernauld. Now, obviously, Cumbernauld is a new town like Livingston, so I'm assuming Wilco must have wanted to open up these. Yeah, I worked in there. That was my very, very first job. Yep. What ones did I have? I never actually had. The only one I had is, let's see if I can do it. Come on, move along with it. That. Oh, for Christ's sake, I'll get up and point it. That one. That was my very, very first one I bought. And then I didn't buy it, my mum bought it, and then I got that. Always wanted that, even though it's shit. Never had any of these. But yeah. Aye, Wilco, that was, you know what, I've said that before. Wilco was one of the best shops ever. It literally had everything. They sold everything. They really did sell everything. Apart from the kitchen sink. I don't think they sold kitchen sinks, but they had, what did they have? Food, clothes, furniture, electricals, computers, hi-fis, sporting equipment. They even sold bloody mopeds. Mopeds, I can't even say the word. Mopeds. They were brilliant. I remember I used to go there every Christmas Eve, and I used to get all my Christmas presents in one go. It was fantastic. It really was. Craig saying he got his BMX from Wilco. Yeah, they sold everything. Really, really good. LFC, he's a mint chocolate chip guy, but most of the time it'll just be vanilla. That's one thing you don't see that often is ice cream vans anymore. I don't know. I suppose places like what do you call them, farm foods and all that, they've probably just they can sell things much cheaper. Anyway, listen, right, you keep the questions coming in, please. I'm going to try and keep this to about an hour. Right, I notice I've got a little. I don't know why that comes up. I've got the little, the little hi-fi sort of the three little lines. That's kind of like that shape. That comes up now and again if I've got poor quality. Now I don't know why, because it's hardwired into the router over there. So I don't know why it's doing that. So if I do disappear, don't go anywhere. I will be back. Right, what I'm going to talk about tonight, and it started off kind of half of what I'm going to talk about, and then I decided to kind of expand it. I just want to talk for 10 minutes or so about comparing modern games with old games. Now I'm going to do this arse for elbow. I'm going to talk about new games first, and then we can talk about old games. Yeah. I'm not going to say are old games better than new games or vice versa. I just want to talk about the pluses and minuses of each type. So new games, when I say new games, I'm talking about stuff like on the PlayStation 5, whatever, but I'm also talking about games from like Xbox 360 upwards, I kind of look upon them as modern systems. I don't play, well, Craig's just saying there he doesn't play enough new games. I really don't play many modern games. I mean, I've got my Xbox X and I hardly play it. But anyway, right, I'm kind of going off topic. So, what is better about new games over old games? Obviously, it's going to have better graphics. I mean, the graphics now are just, they're, I'm not going to say they're photorealistic, because I still think, I mean, I've seen enough games getting played, and they still, even stuff like FIFA, you can look at somebody playing FIFA and you know that that's not real. Despite the graphics being mega realistic, you still know that it's not realistic. I think the face, they've still not really got the kind of face technology. I remember like was it the Dreamcast when it came out with what do you call it, Virtua Tennis? They had the faces looked all right, but they had the teeth. It was like mesh. It looked like they had what do you call them, braces in their teeth, or they looked a bit like Jaws out of out of the what do you call it, James Bond films. So yeah, obviously graphics. You know, you can't argue. You can't say Beam Rider has got better graphics than Last of Us. That's just absolute nonsense. So yeah, modern games have definitely got better graphics. Part of that, they've also got more immersive gaming worlds. You know, you play a game now, and you could be in a cave, you could be up the top of a hill, you could be in a forest, you could be anywhere. Now, I know old games had that as well, but modern games now, with the obviously the hardware, and you know, the better graphics and the colours and all that kind of thing, that the landscapes that you're taking part in. I mean, you put on something like Call of Duty, which I'm not a fan of, but you put that on and just walk about slowly, and it's mind blowing. You know, the graphics are mind blowing. It's like I'm in the game. In fact, that's what I'm going to do after I finish this waffle. There's a game that's in fact, I'm not going to do it after I finish this waffle because it's not out yet. There's a game that I read, I didn't read, I saw a review, a sort of a preview, I should say, of a game that's just come out for the Oculus Quest, and it is meant to be mind-blowing. People are comparing the graphics with like the best PC one. Looks really good. It's got the same like interaction that you've got with Half-Life Alyx, which needs a good PC to run. So yeah, again, I'm going off topic slightly, but yeah, you've got these evening, Mark, how are you, mate? You've got these oh, thank you very much, Jimmy. Not saying I'm not staying on. Oh, listen, absolutely, Jimmy. Nice. Thanks for dropping in, buddy. This will be going as a podcast because at the end of the day, you don't need my handsome face on the screen. You've got the podcast. You don't need to see that. Yeah, more immersive gaming worlds. Absolutely. Another big one is online play. I mean, you know, you can be across the other side of the world. I mean, my good mate, Mr. Lactobacillus, we could, after this waffle, we could decide to play whatever, and we could just be talking to each other. We could be playing against each other. And, you know, 30 years ago, you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have that technology. So, yeah, the ability to play with multiple people is an amazing thing. I mean, I don't play online games at all. Nah, don't think I do. The best experience I had playing online with kind of modern systems was what's it called? Gears of War. The very first Gears of War that came out in the Xbox 360. That was an absolute phenomenal game. Even now, it's a tremendous game. And yeah, I used to play that with my mates. I think you could have, is it maybe like 3 or 4 per side, and it was brilliant. You know, you've got your headphones on, you're talking, you're playing. It's awesome. Another cracking game that Ava and I play, Ava being my daughter, is Left 4 Dead. It's an absolute stupendous game. It's one of the best kind of multiplayer online games. I wish they'd make a sequel to it. There was one that came out. It's not called Left 4 Dead. They brought out a game fairly recently, which is meant to be the sort of like the spiritual successor. I've got it on the Xbox 360, Xbox X, but I don't know, it's like the old Jaws syndrome. Yeah, Jaws is an amazing film. Jaws 2 is not quite as good. This game isn't quite as good as Left 4 Dead, but yeah, online play, that is a definite big thing. Let me think. Anything else? I suppose kind of tying on to more immersive gameplay worlds or gaming worlds, you could argue and say, well, you know, I mean, here's if I can find it. There you go. That's what we used. That's what we used to control games back in the 80s. Either that, or if you're a Spectrum owner, that's exactly what you controlled games with. One button. I mean, that's got two buttons, but they're both the same. That's it. Modern controllers like this. Ta-da. You've got multiple sticks, you've got gamepad, you've got multiple buttons, you've got buttons up there, buttons there, a button there, buttons there, clicking. There's a lot more ways to play games, and you've got things like what do you call it? Vibration. Now I remember I think it was the N64. I think that was the very first game or console that I played that had the vibration thing, and it was quite a big thing. But you know what? It actually annoys me now. I tend to turn it off if I'm playing a game. I think my mate was telling me that is it the PlayStation 5, the controller on that is meant to be pretty amazing when it comes to like driving games and that kind of stuff. You've got the very, very kind of like sort of mild vibration, whatever. So yeah, you could say kind of more how would you describe that? More advanced controllers, call it that if you want. So yeah, I can't. Anything else about the old games or the new games, I should say. Yeah, better graphics, more immersive gaming worlds, online play, better controllers. Anything else? Yeah, I mean, I suppose you could extend that to like the Nintendo Wii. You've got like the motion control and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that could be. There's probably other people. I was actually laughing. I noticed my video that I put out called in. Now I know it wasn't clickbait. It wasn't. Shut up! It wasn't a clickbait title. Honestly, it wasn't. I just called it the secret version of Calden because, well, I didn't know anything about it until it was 20th Century Gaming. I met Mark down at NERG a couple of weeks ago, and he told me about it. Apparently, it was the American version, but I noticed whilst it doesn't show thumbs down, whatever you call it. If you go to the stats, it'll say like 97% likes, which means you've got 3% dislikes. And I noticed my Cauldron video had, I think it was like 80% likes, which means 20% of the people didn't like it. Screw them, that's what I say. Seriously though, yeah, what am I talking about? Can't remember what I'm talking about. Yeah, anyway, they didn't like it because I don't know, because was it clickbait? It wasn't meant to be clickbait, but as far as I was concerned, it was a secret version of Cauldron. I've completely lost my train of thought. Yeah, what I was going to say is there's probably going to be people going, what about this? And you never mentioned that, and da 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 da. I don't care. I really don't care. So anyway, modern games. I miss. Oh, right. Sorry. One more new thing. New games. you could go online right now at 2034 Greenwich Mean Time, and you could buy a game right now. Yeah, download it right now. You've bought a game. So that's fine. Old games, you couldn't buy a game instantly. If this was the 5th of August 1985, I would have to. Well, I wouldn't be. What do you call it? Chatting to you lot, because we wouldn't know each other. And also, if I saw a game in a magazine, I wouldn't be able to buy it until tomorrow, and then I'd need to then assume that they actually had it in stock. So yeah, there's that. You don't get the instant. You can't just go in and buy it if you're buying an old game. But the good stuff, what I miss about the old games is going into a shop and just looking for the section that was devoted to your computer, and just picking cassettes off the shelf, looking at the graphics on the back. I mean, believe it or not, there was actually a time before magazines. I mean, as long as I've been into computers, the computer video games was a thing, but things like Zap, they didn't come along until 1985. I think it was, I don't know if Paula Moz is in tonight. I think it was May 1985. That's when Zap first came along. So I had my C64 for about a year and a half before. I didn't have any magazine to look at a game. I just used to go along to the local computer shop and just lift the games off the shelf and look at it. You would look at the title, you'd look at the screen cover and go, that looks really good. 9 times out of 10, it was like a drawing or a painting or something. And then you'd turn it over and you'd look at the instructions and you'd think, oh yeah, that looks really good. I mean, just what Ox is saying there, I loved all the old independent computer shops. But I even miss things like John Menzies, and we didn't have W.H. Smith in Scotland, I don't think, until later on. I don't know, maybe the 90s, whatever. But yeah, I bought all my Commodore 64 games from Ray's Computer Shop, and I'm not going to talk about it tonight because I've spoke about it a million times. So yeah, I just miss the going into a computer shop and just you had a crisp £10 note in your back pocket, and you went in and you thought, let's see what there is, and you'd see this new game and you'd like, oh, that looks amazing. They don't get me wrong, they weren't always amazing. So I miss that part of it. Second part which I miss is instructions. Well, in fact, we'll kind of expand that, the actual packaging. Now, I'm not going to go. I've let you see it a million times again. I've got Elite, a boxed Elite, which was it was a cassette, and that particular game had a novella, it had a manual, it had an overlay, it had everything. It had about 10 things that you could that you got with your game. Most games didn't have that, but back in the day, you picked the cassette off the shelf, you would open it up, and it would have instructions, and you would either get home and then look at the instructions, or if you couldn't drive, I mean, I was an old man at that point, I could drive, I didn't have a car, I used to borrow my dad's car. What was I going to say? Yeah, you'd get the bus and you'd be sitting in the bus and you would dig the tape out your wee bag and you would open it up and you'd look at it and you would just, you couldn't wait. You would read it all about it and you think, I can't wait to get home and play this. So yeah, I just miss having this sort of tangible thing in your hands that, you've got the instructions, you've got the overlay, and it was great. You sometimes got, I think when you bought like US Gold games, you got an extra piece of paper that advertised other games, and sometimes they gave you a poster and that kind of thing. So it was great. You don't get that now. I mean, let's 2 ticks. Yeah, there you go. There's a modern equivalent. That's a good game, by the way. Yeah, WarioWare on the Switch. All right, it's got that in the back. Does it actually tell you anything about it? Well, it kind of does a wee bit. You open it up. Ah, ta-da! Fuck all. Apart from that, there you go. You get that thing. That is it. Yeah, there's no excitement at all. I mean, I was in a shop last weekend with my daughter, and it was a Switch game, and it just said in the front digital download code. So in other words, you're buying that, you're opening it up, and all you're getting is a code. That is it, which is completely pants. So yeah, I do miss the proper games. Let me have a look. Let me have a wee look. Typical, the one I pick up, I don't have. Right, there you go. And this is slightly more up to date. Streets of Rage 2 in the Mega Drive. Now, firstly, you got this. Oh, bollocks, it's a shit light. Right, you know what? I'll just kind of put it there. I know you can't really see it. There you go. You get a really nice box on the back. You've got screenshots. It tells you all about the game. You opened it up. Yep, you've got your cartridge. But more importantly, you've got this big, thick manual. I mean, you know, you could just pour over that on the bus coming back. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I miss the packaging. Absolutely. Sorry, let me just catch up with the... I'm going to change that light because that's making me look awfully kind of bright. Whoa, that's a bit scary. Right, by the way, apologies if you hear any swearing coming from next door. It's Eva's getting a wee bit excited with her pals there. That's why I usually wear headphones. I've just changed that, but I think I've just put it back to what it was, or is that slightly less? Right, let me have a quick look, catch up on some comments. Ben saying he likes rum and raisin. That wasn't a flavour I ever liked at all. Yeah, Highlander, our Wilco changed to Gateway then Asda. That's exactly what happened in Livingston. It was Wilco, Gateway then Asda. Colin likes vanilla ice cream from the van. Colin's saying you've gone all fuzzy. That's just, yeah, it's a bit kind of, hang on. I don't know, it's probably just, it's just me. I think I am fuzzy. Sorry, what's Dell saying? Few dodged a bullet as I have a similar topic to discuss on my blog on Sunday, but it looks like this one is different, thank God. Highlander says he plays modern games. It just takes me ages to finish them due to parenting work. Craig's saying there is Forza 2 and the Xbox 360 is the best game ever. Oh, that's a controversial statement, Craig. I'll take your word for it. I wouldn't say it's the best game ever. I mean, I've never actually played it, or I have played it, but yeah, I've said this before. I'd have been quite happy if they'd never actually improved on the technology from the 360. To me, the 360 was like the pinnacle of gaming. It was just the right side of, you know, you didn't have massive downloads, and you know the graphics were fantastic. Yeah. Steve's saying there, Beam Rider, fun game, Last of Us, boring game with too many cutscenes. Well, you know what, Steve, I'm going to disagree with you, mate, because The Last of Us, to me, is probably the pinnacle of modern gaming. I've played it. I think I've played it and completed it about 3 times. I love that game. Ben's asking, Al, what do you think about the move away from pixel realistic to the arty style, like the new Monkey Island watercolor? Like, right, I've not seen that, Ben. I mean, I don't know. I don't think this is what you're actually asking, but I'm not a big fan of old style games on modern systems. I mean, all these kind of indie games, they don't seem to have fancy graphics. Why not? Because you're paying a lot of money for fancy hardware. Why do they think that we all want to play these pixelated kind of games? I'm not a fan. I think they were nice to begin with, but it seems that everyone's jumping in the same bandwagon. There was a game that Dell did a review of, even though he was shit at it, and it was kind of like Thrust. I can't remember what it was called, and it was kind of like watercolor the way it was painted. I don't know. I didn't like it at all. It was very, very confusing. And one thing that Dell mentioned, and I thought the same, was the background. It was actually difficult. It was actually difficult to know what was in the foreground, i.e., what you could collide with, and what was in the background, i.e., you could fly over. So, yeah, sometimes I think they just kind of go a bit arty farty party. So, yeah, I don't know if I've really answered that question, Ben, but I've not seen the new Monk Island watercolor line. Yeah, I'm not a fan of these. I like my games to look like computer games, if that makes any any sense. Craig says there, yeah, the 360 is the best console ever made. I would agree. I mean, I've said that before. If I only had one, if I could only play one system and get every single game for it, it would probably be the Xbox 360. Dell saying there, modern games allow for more space due to RAM storage. Yeah, you know the thing about a modern game, you never put a game on and go, oh my god, look at the graphics in that. That's incredible. Whereas back in the day when you first loaded up Whizball, your jaw hit the floor because you were just like absolutely gobsmacked at how good it looked. Steve 8-Bit Gaming, he's saying, I still say consoles were better before they went online. Consoles online have made the developers, publishers lazy, and now they constantly put out broken games and promise to patch it. Yeah, absolutely. Can't disagree there at all. Like, where was I? So yeah, we're talking about evening, Brian. How are you, mate? Yeah, that's a nice one. I'm going to bring that up on the screen. I think that statement pretty much applies to all of us. It's called getting old. It's, we've got worries, we've got stress, we worry about money, we worry about our health, you worry about your ability to do your job, you worry about your maybe not having a job, you worry about maybe losing your job, you worry about your kids. Yeah, we've got all this worry on top of us. And yeah, back in the 80s, Ox misses the carefree happy time instead of the stressed slave I am today. Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with you, Ox. Right, where are we? Yeah, Lactobacillus Prime Mark is saying indie games with retro graphics caters to a demographic that didn't experience the old first generation firsthand. But yeah, I kind of understand that, Mark. So does that mean that they should be making films that are black and white that aren't razor sharp because people like ourselves didn't experience them back in the day? I understand why they do it. I don't know. I don't know. Personally, I think if you were to speak to 100 kids who were 16 and say, would you rather have games that looked like Call of Duty or games that looked like Manic Miner, I think you'd find the majority of them would go for the Call of Duty. Right. Anyway, so that was I do miss the old style games. You had the box, you had the excitement of looking at the game, picking it off the shelf, deciding, do I get this one, do I get that one? Well, if I buy that one, I can't get that. I can get two Mastertronic games. You had to decide what you wanted to do. The other one is, and I think it was Steve, I think, touched on it. No patches or bug fixes. You loaded the game, and that was it. And yeah, we all going about saying, "Oh, it took 20 minutes to load, and oh, it would crash all the time." Well, that didn't happen all that often. Games didn't take. I don't care what anyone says. Games did not take 20 minutes to load. They did in the very, very early days. Try loading an Atari 8-bit cassette. They're literally like that thick of tape, and it probably is 20 minutes. And the early pre-turbo loader C64 games did take a wee while to load. They didn't take 20 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. But once turbo loads came along, games were loading in 3-4 minutes. So this bollocks it. Oh, it took 20 minutes to load. They're talking shite. And games crashing. Well, it did happen occasionally. I don't know. Do you think did games crash more on the Spectrum because they had? Hang on, I'm going to turn that light on. Actually, that'll maybe the light is it's a pish light. It's not made any difference whatsoever, has it? There we go. See, I get super sharp when I can sit further back. Yeah, did Spectrum games crash more than C64 games? I wonder. I'm thinking they probably did because with Spectrum, you had to piss about with volume level and all that kind of stuff. Whereas the C64, the C2N, just it generally just worked. And the thing is, if you started to piss about with the what was it called, azimuth or something, thing, and it was supposed to align your tape heads. You tended to find if you started pissing about with your tape heads, then that was it. You were screwed. It took you forever to kind of get back to get it working again. But yeah, in the main, you loaded it up, and that was it. Your game was loaded. There was none of this downloading anything else. Yeah, another thing that I miss, and I have mentioned this on numerous occasions, is I miss cheat modes. The ability to cheat. Now, I always think I reserve a right to be able to cheat in a game. If I'm playing a modern game, there's been games in the past. I mean, the last, is it 2 or 3? I think the last 3, or certainly the first one and the third one, BioShock, fantastic games, by the way. I've got to a point where I can't get past a certain bit, and to get to that bit, you've got to play for 10 minutes, and then it crashes. No, it doesn't crash, and then you die, and then you've got to start again. You die. I want to be able to. Excuse me. I want to be able to turn on infinite ammo or infinite energy, whatever, so that I can get past a level that I can't get past on. But for whatever reason, they just don't seem to have that in modern games at all now. The old Mega Drive games and like Konami games, was it like up, down, left, right, X, Y, start, something like that. You could cheat in games. If you had a Spectrum, you could put a poke in, whatever, and get past things. But when you're paying a lot of money for a game and you can only get to a certain level, I mean, I've got hundreds of games there on my 2 shelves, and I hardly play them because I get bored very, very easily. Whereas I want to be able to just, right, I'm stuck at this level. I'm going to turn off. I'm going to give myself infinite ammo or whatever. Just give you the ability to tweak it. I understand why they don't do that, because at the end of the day, it must be difficult when you're playing a game, when you're writing a game. It must be difficult trying to get the playability and the difficulty just perfect. It must be very, very difficult doing that. So if you then allow people to fanny about with cheat modes, it's going to kind of fuck it up. But at the end of the day, as a consumer, if I've paid £45 for a game one of the most annoying games is like the Resident Evil games. You've got to get to a typewriter, you've got to find, herbs and all that kind of shite. And if you don't find them, I mean, I was playing. Is it Resident Evil? I can't remember what it was called. Resident Evil 5. It was one that came out on the PlayStation 4 about 2 years ago, and it's a fantastic game. But I've got to a point in it where I've got so little energy, I've got so little ammo, and I just keep dying and dying and dying and dying and dying. And because of that, I've just walked away from it. I've got no interest in playing it. Whereas if I had the ability just to say, right, infinite bullets, whatever, great. You know what I mean? Just so I do miss the ability to cheat in games. Don't know why they don't do that. Let me just have a quick wee look at some comments. Sorry, there's a Custard's asking, which game did you buy downloadable content for, even in the knowledge that years ago the content would have come free with the game you bought? You know what? I think there's only one game that I've ever bought downloadable content. It's not even, well, I suppose it is downloadable content. It was extra levels, and it was a game that I mentioned earlier, Left 4 Dead. I downloaded some more multiplayer levels. I don't think I've ever bought anything else. Nah, it's not something that I really enjoy at all. Craig's saying, is it just me? I can't really play new games on old machines. I don't know what it is. New games. Oh, right. Sorry, that's you're kind of flipping it in reverse then, Craig. You're saying you can't play. So these, are you talking about the games, like the modern games that come out, new games that come out for the C64? It's, you know what, give it a go, because a lot of the time some of these games are amazing. You know, some of the new games that have come out in the last 10 years are incredible. Definitely worth checking out, Craig. Lactobacillus Mark is saying cinematographers are making black and white movies and photographers are still making black and white photos. Black and white pencil drawings, it's all a matter of taste and aesthetics. All is good. It's just personal preference. Of course it is. Absolutely, Mark. But I don't know. I think the reason we played pixelated games is because that was all the hardware could do. When if I've just spent the best part of £600 or £500 on a modern system, I don't really want to play games that look pixelated. I don't know. Again, it's you know, each to their own. Dale saying, I agree with Lacto to a degree. For an indie coder to be true to the cause, they need to restrict RAM and graphics to a small size. Yeah, it kind of feels a bit. I was going to make a comparison and say people who are genuinely starving and then no, that's, forget that. No, I totally agree with you. I mean, you know, the reason games were pixelated and rubbish a lot of times is because of the restricted RAM, etc. Now we don't have to starve ourselves because we've got tons of RAM, we've got tons of hard disk space, whatever. It's mental when you think about, like, I mean, I'm not going to go on about you know, a Commodore 64 game takes up less space than like the Twitter logo, but a game like Doom, I always remember, it stuck in my head. Doom was 14 meg in size. Now Doom is just an unbelievably good game. 14 meg is nothing. Games are now 60, 70 gig. Ox is saying the comparing of games to new and back in 8 bits is like chalk and cheese. Different experiences from top to bottom, and kids will never understand the thrill we got. No, totally get that. Anyway, let's get back onto whatever I was talking about. So yeah, what another good thing about old games? I miss instructions. I miss the packaging. I miss the not having loading a game in 5 minutes and then just playing it. Cheat modes, I miss that. The difficulty, yeah, I don't think modern games are difficult anymore. They're there's there's really no skill to play modern games now. I mean, you just, and maybe I'm wrong in saying that because I don't really play many modern games, but you get to a point, you die, and then you restart. You get to a point, you die, you restart. You get to a point, you die, you restart. You get past that bit, you get to a save point, and then it just keeps rolling on and on and on and on and on. Always remember, and I've mentioned this before, a guy called Stuart Campbell who used to write for Amiga Power and what have you. Fellow Scot, lives in Bathgate, or he used to live in Bathgate. He did a feature on, it was one of the Sonic Adventures. It was on the Xbox or something, and what he did was he sellotaped the joystick in the up position, and he just kept going like that with his finger, pressing the jump button, and he ended up getting through 3 or 4 levels with absolutely no skill at all. You look at old style games, World of Stuart, yep, that's the one, the Ox. You look at old style games, some of them were just savagely difficult. I mean, some of them were impossible. I mean, I was watching the 8-Bit Steve, he did a review of Ghouls, which I've played multiple times. It's impossible. I don't care what anyone says, it is an impossible game. So they did take it to the kind of extreme sometimes. But yeah, back in the day, a game like Manic Miner, you put that in front of a 10-year-old, I'll guarantee they'll not get off the first level. It'll take them 10 goes to get off the first level. You had to learn that you had to be pixel perfect. And that was what made the game enjoyable, the difficulty, and I understand why they had to make games difficult, because probably a lot of games maybe only had 10 levels, maybe slightly more. So if they were too easy, you'd complete them in 20 minutes and you'd be like, well, wait a minute, I've just spent £7.99 and the game's finished. So they had to make it difficult. They had to try and prolong the kind of life of the game. A big thing that I miss is no 2-player options. You can't beat standing shoulder to shoulder with your mate, kicking the shit out of him at Way of the Exploding Fist, or when we were down at Arcade Club, Craig Flanagan and myself, we were playing, it was a Sega football game. I think he won, but anyway, he cheated. We were standing shoulder to shoulder at an arcade game, playing it, taking the piss out of each other, having a laugh. Absolutely miss that. You just don't get that. The old split screen, it was great. I know a few modern games have split screens, but in the main, they're not really designed for 2 players unless it's online. In fact, games are now getting to the point where they're not even designed for 1 player. You've got to be online. You've got to have an internet connection to play them. Yeah, it's almost like it's all about online, and 1 player is like a kind of an afterthought. Yeah, well, listen, Ox, we will need to get together because that would be brilliant. That would be a fantastic thing to do, be able to play C64 games. Mark saying here, pixel perfect platforming was just about all we had, or what the developers back then could think of. Modern gameplay mechanics being implemented on the older machines and new games are pretty cool. Yeah, you know what? I mean, there's been a few games that have come out some of the modern games, things like Soul Force and what have you, they've taken it's mind blowing what they've done. And was it Sam's Journey as well? That's another stunning looking game. Excuse me, but if I'm going to play an old style game, I'd rather play it on. Oh, excuse me. I would rather play an old hardware than like a PlayStation 5, whatever. Another thing that I like about old style games is they don't require 100 hours of your life to complete. I mean, I've a mate who's what was it called again? Mass Impact. It was on I think I've got all 3 of them. I've never played any of them, and they literally take 100 hours to play, and he's played them 2 or 3 times. I'm not interested. I'm at the stage of my life now where I'm thinking, well, I've maybe got 20 years left. maybe slightly more, maybe slightly less. Who knows? We don't know. And I don't want to spend 100 years of my life, 100 years of my life. I don't want to spend 100 hours of my life playing a game. I like to be able to put the Xbox on or whatever, put the fire up my main cab, have a quick game of Rolling Thunder, a couple of games of Berserk, game of Defender, and that's it, and I can get back to other stuff. Modern games now, I think it's actually been bad for society. I reckon there's far more people now who just sit in their room and they do nothing else. StarCraft, World of Warcraft, all these kind of games. Yeah. And the last one I would say is no massive updates. In fact, no updates at all. I think the only time you ever got not an update is if a game was released and it was known to be buggy. They would re-release and you could take your money back. You could take it back and get a new one. But yeah, I mean, I've got an Xbox, not an Xbox. I've got a PlayStation 3 there, and I went to play it. Maybe about 2 months ago. I went to play. I can't remember what game it was. I went to play a game, and it instantly came up. You've got like a 10 gig download. I need to update it. I can't go online until I update this, and the Wi-Fi and that thing's not the greatest. So yeah, he never had massive updates. So yeah, modern games, better graphics, more immersive gaming worlds, online play, better controllers. Old style games, you had instructions, you had cassette inlays, no patches or bug fixes. You had cheat modes, they were more difficult. You had split screen, you had 2-player action. They didn't require 100 hours of your life, and they didn't have massive game updates. So yeah, listen, I am not for 1 second saying that old games are better than modern games. That would be a ridiculous thing to say. I've said before, the majority of old games I don't want to play for any more than about 10 seconds. But these things are the things I miss about old games. So yeah, right. Listen, I'm that's an hour. I said I was going to talk for an hour. And what I'm going to do is I don't think there's any other questions in here. So I've got a couple of questions from last week. Let me just have a quick wee drink of my stone cold coffee. Right. I don't like calling him Wee Bob because Wee Bob is actually much taller than me. Now I know I'm not the biggest, but Bob is certainly not small. maybe has he got? In fact, I don't know if Bob's watching this tonight. Is his dad called Bob, and that's why he's old Bob and he's Wee Bob? I don't know. I'm just going to call him Bob. Anyway, Bob's asking if you could go back in time and be a coder, which software company would you want to work for during the C64 days? Evening, Shinobi. What software company? I think it would have to be Atari. Absolutely have to be Atari. It'd have to be the late 70s, the real golden era of video games. Definitely, yeah. Atari 100%. Oh no, sorry, right. You're asking about the you're talking about the computers. If it was going to be any company, it would be Atari. The real early days, Asteroid type days. If it was going to be a Commodore 64, I think I would like to. This is difficult. I was going to say Activision because I just think there's something really nice about Activision. They came up with lots of really good ideas for games. I think it would have to be Sensible Software. These guys had a lot of fun. They were basically mates programming games. Yeah, it would be Sensible Software, absolutely. I mean, I've been lucky enough to talk to John here, and it sounds like they had an absolute blast back in the day. So anyway, Bob, thank you very much, Squire. Right, Mr. Colin Jones, my question, bottled water, a good thing or a complete rip-off? Now, if you'd asked me that maybe 4 years ago, I would have said a complete rip-off. Here's the thing, nobody is making you buy bottled water. You can still get it from the tap. But I don't know. I've, like most people, I mean, I'd be interested to know, is there any of you guys here at home, do you just drink water from the tap or do you buy bottled water? I know up in Scotland, I think it is generally agreed that we have better water from the tap, especially compared to London. Our water isn't bad. But over the last probably 4 or 5 years, I buy bottled water. I mean, I buy bottled water all the time. My daughter drinks it. It's actually encouraged me to drink more water because it's in the fridge. It's cold. It's in a bottle. It's in the fridge. But I have to say, I can now tell the difference. I can now tell the difference between bottled water and tap water. Having gotten used to drinking bottled water, when they drink water out of tap, I don't know. I think I can definitely taste the kind of chemicals. So yeah, I think it's mental. I mean, if somebody told me 20 years ago that we're going to get to a point where you were buying water, you'd believe, wait a minute, I can get water from the tap. Why would I want to buy it? And here we are, 20 years on or 10 years on, we buy water. Yeah, so I do drink bottled water, I have to say, Colin. I don't think it's a rip-off because at the end of the day, nobody's making you buy it. You can still drink it from the tap if you want. Right, I'm going to attempt this one. Any Milthy Swinbuckle is always, you're in for your brain's going to get a bit of a workout. Right, a couple of short questions to mull over. I like that phrase, mull over. Which games have you completed or done particularly well at that have given you the most satisfaction and now you look back on with fond memories? Yeah, when it comes to when it comes to modern games, I mean, I've not completed many modern games because I just get bored very easily. I lose patience very easily. Games that I've completed all the Dead Space? All the Dead Space games in the Xbox 360 were really good. They were amazing. I've completed Resident Evil 4 across multiple systems. I've completed what else have I completed? I've completed Last of Us 3 or 4 times. Never really got into the new one. I need to get back into that. Somebody, I can't remember who it was, somebody on Twitter asked what was the best gaming sequel ever. And I said Super Pipeline 2. The original is awesome, but the Super Pipeline 2 is even better. But then I thought, later on, about it. Half-Life 2. Now, Half-Life was an awesome game, but Half-Life 2 was it's an absolutely phenomenal game. Again, it's a game I've completed multiple times. It ticked all the boxes of the good things about modern games. Stunning graphics, the most amazing gaming worlds. I mean, I still think about some of the sort of like the experiences I had with Half-Life 2. Just amazing game, really, really good. So I would probably say Half-Life 2 was the one that gave me the kind of fondest memories, I think, Milfy. Who was I talking to? I was talking to somebody recently. Was it Panther? I can't remember. I was talking to somebody, or was it Del Boy? I was talking to somebody recently about there's a new Half-Life that came out, and I was for the PC, and I was going to buy it. Evening, Milfy. Great timing, buddy. Yeah, I was. What was it? I was talking to somebody about the new Half-Life game, and not the what do you call it? Oh, not the VR one. Just that Half-Life. Yeah, the latest Half-Life is VR only, but somebody brought out. Oh, you know what it was? I think somebody has brought out a remake of the original Half-Life, but they've really spruced up the graphics. That's what they've done. Yeah, they've kind of brought it right up to date. I think it was about 12 quid or something. And I read it. I watched a couple of videos on it, a couple of YouTube videos, and read a few reviews. And it didn't get. They said don't build your hopes up too much, so I didn't buy it. I thought I'm not going to bother with that. But yeah, definitely Milfy. Half-Life 2 would be the one that I just thought is awesome. Half-Life Alex is mind blowing. I've got a mate. In fact, he watches this channel sometimes. I've not seen him. Neil, are you in tonight, Squire? He is there against VR, and then he came up to my house a few months ago, and I put Half-Life Alex on, and he was like, "This is the most amazing thing ever." It's that good. Right, second part of Milfy's question. If you found out that the life you live wasn't real, in other words, brain in a vat stuck in the Matrix, an NPC in a computer game, a pawn played by some god, would your view on life change, or would you be like me and say, sod it, this is the reality I find myself in, so this is the reality I'm going to live and worry and live in and worry about and contend with? You know, I've kind of thought about that from time to time. Not so much that it's a simulation. I mean, we've all seen. Well, if you haven't seen it, it's quite a good film. Jim Carrey, The Truman Show. It kind of gets you thinking. I didn't do The Matrix. Too complicated. I lost interest. But I do sometimes think. I mean, if you see a little insect walking across, I don't know, walking across the carpet, as far as it's concerned, this is in some big massive landscape. Now, what is to actually say that we're not living on somebody's bum? We could be living in somebody's skin. We're so small because the fact that there are insects that require a microscope to look at, or a tiny spider, what's to say that we're the biggest size? Maybe we're tiny. Who knows? We might well be, we might be a microscopic. Somebody might be looking at me right now under a microscope. Who knows? At the end of the day, as Milfy said, fuck it, let's just get on with it. And that's exactly what I would be saying. So anyway, listen, I can thank you your face, Milfy. Thank you very, very much, mate. I always appreciate you always take time to ask myself, and I know you ask Dale as well, which is really good. Right. Gan 90 Vec Fever. I have one. I was talking about. I like to see what do you call it? Asteroids and Star Wars and what have you running on the Vectrex, which just blew my mind. Now I have contacted the guy that makes them, and he's not got back to me yet. I don't really expect he will, because apparently the weight is through the roof. Or out the door, I should say. But there is a slightly cheap, well, not slightly, a lot cheaper way of getting the same sort of experience, not quite. And it's a thing called a Pytrex, and it's a Vector, it's a Vectrex cartridge. But what you do is you plug in a Pi Zero, and it allows you to play all these games. I don't think it runs quite as well as the Vec Fever, but the guy that showed me his at the computer club said that the Pytrex is the way forwards. He says there's going to be updates coming out, and it will get to the point where it's just as good. So I've ordered one of these. It came in. It was about 34 quid. No, 44 quid. I think I had some credit on PayPal. It's about 40. I think it's about £44, and you can buy a what you call it, a Vectrex. Sorry, you can buy a Retro Pi Zero for about 10 quid. So for about 50 odd quid, you can get one of these. Once it comes, it's coming from Australia. Once it comes, I will do a look at video, let you see what it's like. And yeah, so anyway, that's that. So the guy, he says, yep, he's got one of the Vec Fevers, the ultimate version. He was going to make a game in it, or feeling that, do a colour battle zone type. The best thing in arcade ROMs, Asteroids, Battle Zone, etc. You can play with the Vectrex on its side. I'll have to make a video seeing as it's so rare. I'm open to offers, but they are buggeringly expensive. Yeah, when he said open to offers, I thought, oh. And then when he said the bit about buggeringly expensive, I thought, I'm out. Unless he's going to do his good mate a deal. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't pay any more than probably £200 for it. It's not worth that. Definitely not. So, anyway, listen, that is all of the questions we have finished. So I don't know if there's any other questions in here. How are we doing for time? An hour and 15 minutes. I think I've been prattling on quite enough. Right. I'm not right. Friday, Sunday. I will be along on Sunday, and I'm going to make it for Ian Hunter. Ian's been watching my channel for a long time. He doesn't pop in that much, but he's asked me a few times if I would do a 128 Commodore 128 stream. So I'm going to do that. There's going to be a Commodore 128 stream on Sunday. There's not that many games, so yeah, we'll see how we go on. I have started that was the year that was Commodore 64 1984. What I do with these is I play games that I remember, games that I can remember back in the day. I play them for like a minute, whatever. So I think I've been going through all the games that came out in 1984, and I'm up to about the letter L, and I think I've got about 120 games picked so far. So it's going to be one of these. It's going to be one of these videos that will probably take me a good few weeks to kind of put together. But hopefully it'll be worth it, because I think you guys do seem to enjoy them. Listen, Dale, I've got to run shortly as I want to perform a live stream test. Hopefully it will work and add another string to my bow. Yeah, absolutely, Dale. Good stuff. Then I can invite Alan and give eternal thanks for helping me out. No worries, Dale. Take care, buddy. We'll catch up. So, yep, 1984. That was the year that was. Commodore 64, 1984. It will be coming to a screen near you. So anyway, listen, guys, I've been Main Meister. You guys have been awesome. Take care. Have a great weekend. See you.